Advices Radio Network.
Blood, Sweat, and Gears for informational and educational purposes only. Kids, don't try any of this at home.
But counting on support is like you're counting on a rosary. I ain't even made enough for groceries. Yeah, we doing numbers, only those inside the holes up on the rotary phone. I bitch and moan like I'm supposed to be known, like anyone can hit the zone. Post Malone, but rule numero doses, no one goes to shows. So I do it for the ghosts of the overdose. Cause when you go for broke, you just end up broke. So
Welcome back to Blood, Sweat, and Gear. I'm Scott McNally, and with me, as always, is Skip Hill and S2H. We're trying something new today, so we're using actual music from a local band. This is large, extra large bonus disc. I'm pumped to be working with local people. Plus, I want to let everybody know this show is brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. You can use our code ADVICES for additional savings, as well as to let them know that you support the show. Also, the code SKIP, it doesn't work anymore. It actually adds money to your order if you use that. What's up, Skip? How you doing?
Well, there goes my discount code right down the tube. I remember when you told me that True Nutrition was coming on, the first thought I had was, aw, because I know everybody uses my discount code up until they were coming on board. Nonetheless, it is very cool that they're a part of the, I even thought to myself, why has it been so long?
Yeah, right.
Why did we not get them involved? Because, I've had a relationship with Dante, working relationship with Dante since, 2004? So I kind of dropped the ball on that, but I'm glad that they're involved now. They should be. So that's cool.
You know what? I'll be honest. It was like a thing I didn't want to bring anybody on board and promise them that we could deliver if we couldn't. And so I'm the kind of person that, like, if I'm going to do something, I want to make sure that, like, we can over deliver, you know what I mean? And so for that reason, I waited till we made like 300 episodes of Advices Radio total. Scott, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm in my new studio.
Yeah?
Which is in my closet.
You're like tapping on stuff now. I like how you started doing that once we started recording. That's great.
All right. I'm sorry, I'll stop tapping. I made a desk out of cardboard boxes and 100-mile-an-hour tape. It works pretty good, actually.
What's 100-mile-an-hour tape?
Well, like Gorilla Tape,
Oh, okay.
So, so I'm in my closet, which is actually a pretty big closet, and I set everything up in here. I've got my chair, and that's what I'm doing.
I see. Skip, I wanted to tell you, we've got everything nailed down for the Arnold now, for our meetup.
Nice.
It's going to be fun. We're looking at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. is the game plan, but we'll have the room all day. So we'll have a meeting room. This will be on Saturday morning.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Saturday morning. It'll be obviously then before the men's open IFBB prejudging. We can have like a meet and greet at first around 9, and then around 9:30 we'll get to making a podcast. The goal is to bring all of our listeners in. So we will be in the same building. We'll be at the expo. We'll be in the convention center, just down the hall from the expo. You don't even have to put a coat on to come and see us. Come on in, hang out. We'll probably have some Best Bar Ever samples of the new perishable bar that Mike Clay came out with. And we're gonna make this like a very interactive thing. Because my thought is that, like, this show, all of our shows, really, we are totally always interacting with the listeners, and they're just as much of a part of the show as we are. So it'll be cool to be able to actually make a podcast with them in the same room. We'll have we'll have VJ and Dr. Steve Ogden, and Scott Stevenson is going to be there. It looks like Haley and Ryan Delph, who just started a new podcast up at the network called The Come Up, they'll be there, and a bunch of other people. John Jewett said that he's probably going to stop by, get away from the animal booth for a few, and we'll see if we can get like Dave Calick over, and Dorian Haywood if he's there. We'll just try to get a bunch of the listeners in as well, and I think it's going to be fun, man. I'm pumped. This will be a great first Arnold for you.
9 a.m. like in the morning.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay, I'll be there in my cat pajamas, but I will be there.
Yes.
I saw your cat leggings.
Oh, did you? Nice segue. What did you think, S2H? Did you see my cat leggings when I was training legs the other day?
Yeah, I mean, after I threw up in my mouth, and
Well,
came
I
back.
got a lot of really good feedback on them. So, actually, some of that feedback was that they were going to send the video to you, actually, to get your feedback.
I saw the video. Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
It was pretty disturbing.
One thing I noticed, your legs are looking great, man. You got awesome shape to them. They're looking thick.
They're, let's put it this way. I'm getting them back. I see them and I go, oh, man. But it's a work in progress. I lost a lot over those years with them back problems.
Really?
So I feel really good. I mean, I can handle the, it's one of those things where my legs could handle the poundage, but my midsection couldn't. It's what's called intrathecal pressure. It's the pressure in your basic like abdominal cavity that presses against my spine that I haven't been able to tolerate. It gets better and better, and it's been over 3 years now. So now I'm to the point where I tolerate the pressure so well that I'm not used to it. And I felt like I ripped my top 2 abs
Oh, God.
away from my fucking ribs on Thursday on leg day because of the pressure. Seriously, it was the heaviest set I put up in hacks in 10 years probably.
Jeez.
And I mean, I thought I did something. I literally thought I ripped my abs away from the top, like I had injured the cartilage or something at the bottom of my, my rib cage at the bottom of my sternum. It was horrible. And the only thing I can think of that it was, because it was gone in a couple of days, was the contractions and the force were so ridiculous that I wasn't used to them, that it was almost like they were cramping. So it took a couple days. It was violently is probably not the word. But if I were to cough or try to even blow my nose, it was incredibly painful to contract my abs at all. So the point is I'm trying to get some of this leg size back. I'm starting to get some of it back, and it's exciting because I'm able to do things that I haven't done in a long time. Yeah. So that's cool. I appreciate that you recognize that.
That was cool, man. No, every time I've seen your pictures, because we talk more than I actually see you. And every time I've seen your videos and your pictures and stuff, I'm like, damn, he's looking great. I've been cheering for you, man. And it's cool to see you pulling it back together. Plus, like I said before, you got me working harder now because I'm like, shit, I'm going to have to keep up with this guy and like look halfway decent, not look like a total bag of crap standing next to him. So I'm working too. And Scott, go ahead.
No, go for it. At the rate I'm going though, I'm putting on weight so fast from this TNE and injectable Anadrol. It's only been like a week and I'm up like, I don't even know, 5 or 6 pounds. And it's good. It's good weight in the sense that I feel great and my skin is splitting and everything else, but it's crazy. It's so different to me, and it's a lot of fun. So I have 3 more weeks on it. Actually, I'll run it probably through, basically until I get to the Arnold. So I could end up just looking like a big bag of shit when I get there, but really strong and growing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows?
You'll need like 2 different sets of clothes. The clothes you wear on the first day, and then a smaller set the last day when all the Anadrol and stuff's leaving your system.
Exactly.
So test no ester, you said you're using with that. How do you like that? Because I've had a really good experience with TNE, and I've used it with injectable Dianabol. I've taken it just on training days, maybe like an hour to an hour and a half pre-workout. I've liked it. I've talked to other guys who are like, I don't feel TNE at all, nothing.
Yeah, I don't notice. I'll tell you what, I thought that I would go into the gym and want to murder babies and women and everything else. I haven't really had that feeling, but I can tell, I mean, it's only been a week, like I said, and I am just blown up. It's pretty crazy. And I can see that my strength, it's up, and, the pumps and stuff are just insane. So I don't know. I mean, it's only 1 week down. This week will probably be a little bit more telling. If my strength is through the roof this week after loading and being on it for a full week, I would probably know more this week, but I like it. It's just not, and I've never done either one of them before. I've never used injectable Anadrol, and I've never used TNE. So didn't really know what to expect. I will say that I anticipated that it would, and the feedback was that it was going to be very uncomfortable, as far as the inject, and they've been pretty good. I really don't have any any complaints. I mean, at least so far. I mean, I've taken a couple of precautions. I make sure they're very warm,
Yeah.
so that everything is thin. But I'll be honest, the DHB is probably it's significantly more uncomfortable than the TNE Anadrol.
I never had problems with the injectable with TNE either, or the injectable D-ball. I assume this stuff. So the Anadrol, that's oil based as well.
Yeah, the funny thing is it's got an odd smell to it. I don't know what that is. Okay, because it's kind of when I'm heating it up, underneath real hot water, I can smell. I can smell just a different smell. So I'm not sure what is it that they're using, Scott?
Glycol.
Is it glycol? I know what you're talking about. My TNE had a really unique, different smell to it too. That and it's like nothing else. That's what that is, huh, Scott?
That's how you suspend it. Keeps it suspended. So I heard.
Okay.
Somebody gave Skip some good advice on the proper use of this to make his gains the best.
Somebody who shall ruin. I was trying to keep anonymous.
What is it? What does this have to do with timing or what?
It's magic.
Magic, just magic. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, really, it's those goofy ass stretch pants he wears.
Well, and part of it too was I didn't know. See, the thing is I'm using it primarily, obviously pre-workout, but I only trained 4 days. I cut one of my days out because it was just becoming too much. Yeah. So I went back to 4 days. Well, I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to take this only 4 days and then not take it for 3 days. And then I wasn't sure too, because I'm like, well, how am I going to have blood levels that are going to be up and down, roller coaster ride, because I'm only taking it once a day. So what I decided on was, I got some feedback from S2H, and then I ended up going with I actually hit a smaller dose of 25 milligram of oral Anadrol early in the day when I get up, and then I hit the injectable on pre-workout, on the days I train. On the days that I don't, I just go with 2 oral doses of Anadrol. I didn't really want to get that TNE on days that I didn't train. So I didn't feel very good about it. And I don't know that much about it, to be honest with you. I don't use no ester shit. I think I used Sustanon, or not Sustanon, but suspension the last time. Oh God, at least 15, if not 20 years ago.
And that was water-based, you're saying, right?
Yeah, exactly. And very painful, which was funny because I put that actually in my calves.
Oh, God.
That's real smart.
I don't know why it was painful. I guess I don't understand why it would be painful putting it in your... I remember using a very small insulin pen, but that was during the time, because, 20 years ago, it was during a time where I was still fighting to get calves, and calves actually mattered. So I thought, well... there's got to be something here. It certainly can't hurt to, go local, see if there's a local benefit. All it did was it made walking very, very difficult.
No kidding. Scott, you're back in the gym. I saw you sent me a selfie on the treadmill.
Yeah, this has been so this is, what is today? Monday? So Sunday, yesterday, would have been the end of the second week back.
Okay.
And the first week, I just kind of went in there and did some cardio and just did a little bit of this and that, kind of hit every body part, but not much. Literally like 4 sets of 12 or 15, not much weight, just kind of working it back in. This week, I decided I was going to be go back to the old routine, of the splits I used to do and push it a little more. And let's see, I went Monday, Tuesday, I took Wednesday off. No, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then Friday I went back in, and dude, I was so sore. Just everywhere you could think. If someone poked me with their finger, I probably would have fell over crying, no matter where it was.
How much TNE did you use?
Well, my preparation for this consisted of about a quarter cc of testosterone cypionate, and I parachuted about 1/10 of an Arimidex twice, so it wasn't much.
Yeah.
It was just, matter of fact, I probably need to give my little quarter kicker upper today. But, it's just, but the kind of the downside was my knees hurt. started bothering me Saturday, my lower back a little bit. So I probably did a little bit too much, even though it was very, very, it was very humbling. I lost a ton of strength, and
that's why you want to train when nobody's there. Now I get it.
Well, no, because there's not a lot of equipment too. So I got in there with like 3 or 4 people there one day, and it's kind of like, okay, it's not like a big gym where if someone's on your shit, you can go find something else that'll work.
Yeah.
Here, you got about 1 or maybe 2 options total. So if someone's on option 1 and 2, you're kind of, you can get like a little prison workout in it or something, but you got to kind of wait. So I just go when no one's there.
I'm about to connect to our first caller here. Remember, Skip, the other week you were talking about having hormone issues while using growth hormone, like getting gyno, for instance. Yeah, was one of the things. We had a guy, and now this guy wrote to me, and I discussed it a little bit with VJ on Bodybuilding Nerds Radio, but I don't think we got the full picture. I'm going to give him a call today. He said he started growth. And once he started it, he started having erectile issues, I believe it was. So we're going to connect to him and see what's going on. While I find that, I want to tell you, I was at the pharmacy yesterday. I went and I had more work done for the dental implant I'm doing, and I needed to get on an antibiotic. So get this. You guys are familiar with all the shenanigans they play at Planet Fitness. They don't want bodybuilders and stuff. The girl behind the counter was saying that she has a membership there, and with her membership, she can bring a friend anytime she wants. And she had some guy with her who doesn't sound like he was very serious. They kicked them out. They hit the lunk alarm, and they said that he was being too assertive while lifting weights. He looked too confident, and they felt that was like arrogant and cocky. And he's just some average guy who was like just curling. But I guess he looked too good.
There's a huge gray area there. There's really nothing black and white. I think that's the biggest turnoff. The only thing that I get irritated with when a discussion comes up about Planet Fitness is everybody says how, they're going to close down and everything else, because of their business model. That business model is genius.
Oh, it's still working. It's working great.
Oh, it's absolutely fucking genius, because even though we get irritated because we're so hardcore, we're gym rats, they're not catering to us, and that apparently pisses us all off. I wouldn't go in there. Do I think it's fair? No, I don't think it's fair at all. But it's so appealing to the masses because they are intimidated by us, because us are a lot of fucking douchey, arrogant dipshit.
Absolutely.
So that's the reality of it. We all basically... the bodybuilders who complain about all this shit are the ones who created the situation in the first place. Now, the huge gray area does suck. It's like he's too assertive. They can pretty much say anything and hit the alarm, and you have to fucking leave. I can't believe that this could actually hold up legally if someone didn't want to pursue some sort of discrimination. I just can't believe in a court of law that it would ever hold up. But bodybuilders have other things to do besides sue people. They have to eat their next meal so that they don't go catabolic.
Right.
When they leave the gym, they have to get that post-workout nutrition because they have to grow. I mean, there's just other things. We get sidetracked with other things. But if somebody ever pursued it, I can't imagine that could possibly hold up any more than asking someone to leave a gym because they're fat and ugly. There's nothing there.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, I think we got our caller here. Is this Phil?
Yes. Hey, Scott. How are you? How you guys doing?
Hey, what's up, man? So we've got S2H, Skip Hill, and myself, Blood, Sweat, and Gear. Phil, meet the guys.
Phil, did you steal that bracelet? And if you did, why haven't you given what is oh shit,
different Phil.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
It was Phil Heath. I'm sorry.
Different Phil.
My bad. Go ahead.
What's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. Just, one of those Mondays.
Are
we all have them, right?
Are you at work right now?
No. Actually, job's pretty flexible, so I'm able to work from home and stuff like that.
Nice,
so
man.
You don't work. We get it. It's totally cool. It's totally cool. I don't work very much either.
No, none of us do. That's why we're all on a podcast at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Monday. Where are you calling us from?
Oh, I'm from Iowa. Actually,
Oh,
the Quad Cities. I live in LeClaire, so Bettendorf. So
nice.
Wrestling
I work out
country.
at Level 2 Fitness there. Awesome gym.
Nice.
So all that good stuff.
So, what was your
isn't it
question?
the American way not to work.
That's what I'm working
I know
on.
We talked a little bit. We talked a little bit. Actually, reached out to Scott and on BNR Radio, and I don't know if anyone's had any differences in sex drive issues with different GH types. Was able to get a little bit of Omnitrope for a while. Seems like my sex drive was pretty good. I know this is something as a male we all don't want to talk about from time to time. Switched over to Blue Tabs, and it seems like it's decreasing, which is a weird thing. Had all my labs done. Everything seems okay. You know, a couple of things stick out that we talked about. Estrogen is actually 15. I was pinning every 10 days with tests, so my test was 492. Probably like 7-8 days for my last pin. You know, moderate doses. Always kept things pretty conservative. So HGH is at 2 IUs every other day, and you know, my IGF was only 155, etc. DHT was 43. So the only thing that really stuck out was, you know, from an estradiol standpoint, maybe it's too low. So I was taking Novadex every day, and then did some research on that, basically because Arimidex, I got an LDL problem, which we all do, so being on cycle doesn't help, and then having a Arimidex issue was making those particles even get larger and plummet. So this was the first time that my cholesterol was usually 160. I know it's a lot of information, and it actually went to 205. So we're redoing labs again in like 4 to 6 weeks. So I was kind of wondering if the Novadex was causing some of that. Then I also did more research on Novadex and found out that it is an IGF-1 suppressor in the liver, kind of like metformin. So just all kind of interesting stuff. So
What was your T3 and T4
I don't
free?
know. Go ahead.
What was your free T3 and T4? Were they high, low?
Low. So yeah, I'm back on thyroid medicine. Yes, absolutely. They were low. My uptake is low.
T4, free T4 was low? What was your free T4?
Yeah, I think it was. You have to give me a second here. Because each lab, they send it off to like 4 different places.
So they can make more money.
Yeah, exactly.
Skip, while he's looking for that, I'm going to tell you, I heard from Haley it was like -30 in Iowa the other day.
That's insane. Yeah. That's absolutely. My daughter was calling me from Milwaukee, said she hit black ice and she was just scared and was crying and everything else and how cold it was there. And I'm like, you know what? I feel really bad for you, but your ass was living here in South Florida and you decided to go north to go to nursing school. Yeah, it's just terrible. The whole country was in rough shape last week. Man, no.
It was bad here in Michigan too. We got a bunch of snow.
It got down to 59 here. That's fucked up shit. Nobody wants to hear nobody wants to hear it about how I can't go to the beach one day because it's not even 60 degrees. But it just destroyed the whole country. It's just terrible.
Did you find it, Phil?
Yes, I did. So you had to throw in that Florida part there. I'm actually a native Floridian.
Nice. Where?
Moved here for a girl. Girl got pregnant. Girl divorced me. So now I'm just here for my son in freaking Iowa.
Huh.
Of all places in the world to be.
And what is the lesson there? Don't get women pregnant, and then you can stay where it's nice and sunny. See, there you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right. The problem is she was really hot at the time, so that could be a problem, right?
Gotcha. You can always move back with you, and your son could come back.
Yeah.
Free T4 and free T3.
Okay. Free T3 was 3.18. And the scale goes from 2.5 to 3.9.
Mm-hmm.
And then free T4 was 0.69, and the scale goes from 0.61 to 1.12.
I'd say your growth is fake, probably.
Okay.
That isn't going to have any impact, though, sexually. I'm surprised you're not going after that estrogen. You don't think that estrogen is ridiculously low? It's
low, but I mean, there's something else in play. You might just be coincidentally have switched those. And but I'm going to say that either it's not that great because you said you had a fairly low IGF level, even with Novadex. It's not going to make it that low after a periodic use like that. So I'm gonna say you might want to check into that one. But as far as like the sex drive part, yeah, your estrogen's low. That's why. But why is it low? It's not because of Novadex.
Yeah,
That's not going to lower
probably.
it. Yeah, or the GH. There's something else that's lowering it. I mean, you said you pin every 10 days.
Yeah, about 7 to 10 days.
I'd start pinning twice a week, like on Monday and Thursday. Just split it up down to that, whatever you're doing over that 7-day period or whatever. Even if it's like like 25 milligrams or something, and get more consistency with that. You're not taking any kind of aromatase inhibitor at all?
Not right now, no.
That's kind of odd to have estrogen that low. Holy shit.
I mean, not to get too in depth, but is it real testosterone? I mean, is it pharmaceutical?
No, it's not. But I have had a couple of tests with this, and the ranges seem to be okay. Because normally I don't produce anything. When I first did this labs back when I was 37, so I've been on cycle for like 7-8 years now. Mm-hmm. I was only producing like 240 nanograms per deciliter. Mm-hmm. So this being 492, about 8 or 9 days after the shot, at the half-life, I should have been 800-900 if we go off the half-lives.
Yeah, that a lot of people use that equation online and stuff. I don't really buy into that. I mean, it's, is it a long ester, an anthate, cypionate, something?
An anthate.
Yeah. So I mean, you're even though that it'll say, okay, all of it peaks within like 24 to 36 hours, and then it eventually starts to taper. And anthate's a little bit longer and is a little bit shorter than cypionate, but they're roughly the same. But when you're consistently using something, your blood levels just don't go up and down like if it was the first time you took a pin and waited 8 days and got your blood again. So there's a buildup in the blood that keeps it up. So how much is it? Are you using for every 7 to 10 days?
About
how many milligrams? How many?
250 milligrams.
Well, that stuff's garbage too. I mean, you should be way higher than that. Even if you waited 10 days post injection on a 250 milligram injection and you've been on it consistently, that doesn't sound right to me either. I think you look to whatever, look at the quality control.
All right. Well, let's wrap here on this. And it sounds like it might be a good idea for him to maybe get some different tests, different equipment, different gear all over, doesn't it? From what you guys are saying. And maybe the omnitropes were probably a better choice if he could get his hands on those.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Phil. I hope we give you a little bit more information here, man. I know it sounds like we don't have all the answers for you, but I do hope that this at least gives you a little bit of direction where you can move to from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Take care.
All right. I'm looking at what we've got here, guys. We've got a bunch of questions on the board. You know who I want to get a hold of today? I want to see if we can get a hold of. Remember Nate Pennington, your buddy Scott. We talked to him a couple episodes ago. I want to see if we could bring him on a little bit later and answer some questions with us. That dude was badass, man.
Nate the gangsta.
Yeah, he's a badass dude. And plus he does music too, right? You were saying?
Yeah, he's made music videos, and he does I think it's on Instagram. He'll have he plays concerts down there where he's at, and he'll have them on Instagram. He's pretty good.
You're freaking kidding, man. All right, we got to find some of his
definitely
music,
a guy you can't judge the book by the cover.
What kind of music is it?
Man, he sings everything from country to Disturbed, Zombie.
Oh, no kidding.
Pearl Jam. I mean, kind of pretty much a lot of stuff, that's out there. Yeah, he's pretty good. He plays a lot of instruments and stuff.
All right. I'm looking around at what we've got here. Do you guys want to go to a board question, or do you want to go to our next caller?
Yes.
Yes? That wasn't an answer.
Go to the caller.
Go to the caller? All right, let me see what I got here. We've got, this is Deb Terpstra. We just did a podcast with her, actually. She's going to call in with a question about coaching. Let's see if we can get a hold of Deb. She's a women's physique competitor. And I just did a show with her and John Jewett. By the time this comes out, that show will be out too.
Hi, this is Deborah.
Hey, what's up, Deb? Scott here with S2H and Skip Hill from Blood, Sweat, and Gear. Say hi to the guys.
Hi, guys.
Why does that name, your name sounds so familiar, right? No?
I think that we were Facebook friends.
Well, the fact that we were implies there was some kind of problem.
Did you block Skip? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't block him. It's so funny because, Scott, you had asked me about, if I was going to call in with a question. And I've been listening to your podcast, and I was listening to one yesterday with Skip, and I was laughing because I'm like, I'm going to talk to them tomorrow, and he's going to be like, I think I know who that is. And I'm going to have to be like, yeah, we were Facebook friends. Oh.
Something you know what? Here's the thing, though. I make so many people mad, and I do. It's either it's the religion or it's politics, and I lose so many. I can't keep track of who's mad at me. So I bet that's what it was.
And you know what? It's not. I want to say this right off the bat. Like,
this is getting good. This is getting real good.
This is. The heat is. I am a diehard Christian, and I can tolerate.
That's what it is.
Even Christian jokes, but I think I don't remember what it was specifically, but I was just like, I don't need this in my life. So,
And here's the cool thing about that. I do want people to know, and I tell this to my friends and especially my parents too. I remind them, and they know me because they kind of put up with my shit for a while. But because they're very religious too. I really do. I sincerely respect the fact that whether it's you or other friends or other people I know, that they're religious or that they're Christians. I really do. What I am guilty of, and I think you'll agree, is I do find humor in everything, and sometimes that is offensive. So I completely understand if that's if that's what it was.
Well, I think it was one day a week. I don't honestly remember because, like I said, I will. I've seen. Like one of my favorite memes is. I think it's actually sort of geared towards. Like I've seen people post it about. Now I'm going to sound like I'm judging or whatever, but it's like geared towards. I want to say like bikini competitors, like the meme of like a girl being like. Nobody can judge me, and then like there's an image of Jesus pointing at her, and she's like, "You're a whore," So like, I think that's really funny, but I don't remember exactly what it was that I feel like. I think, and now we're going to get into a whole religious discussion, but
I'll stop us before we get there.
Before it gets too crazy, people have had a lot of, I want to say, bad experiences with, with Christians, and they, I get they're so hypocritical and all this other stuff, and it's like, no, I want to be the first to say that, I have friends that are of all whatever, and I love them for who they are, and I want everyone to be happy, and what I try to be a loving person. That's the main thing.
Well, that's the important thing. So, hey, you and I can still get along perfectly in the bodybuilding industry, no problem.
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
Absolutely.
All right, and we've got S2H over here too. He hasn't said anything to you yet. Hey, Scott, you still there with us? Apparently, we don't have Scott.
Oh, hold on. I turned my mic was off. I was drinking my water.
Okay.
I fully support her and Skip's. He pisses everybody off. Trust me. I text him all the time, trying to straighten him out to get him on the right path, and there's no help for the boy.
This just became gold. This is good radio.
I think that Facebook they used to have where you could like unfollow somebody.
Yeah.
And they didn't, and that was, like I said, I was friends with Skip, like it's been at least 2 years, I think, since we, and you know what, my Facebook is pretty intimate. Like my Instagram has a lot of followers, but my Facebook is like I have as many Facebook friend requests right now as I have Facebook friends like hanging there. So it's just like, it's mostly family and stuff like that. So
that's how
I just try to, I just want it to be have as least amount of controversy as, like, Facebook is like my safe place for social media where I don't get people trolling me and so on. So, I want to, and a lot of my Facebook posts are about my daughter and about my beliefs and that type of thing. So it's not really a lot of bodybuilding related stuff. So,
right.
All right. Well, on to bodybuilding related stuff.
Yeah.
I think you had a good question. Now this related to finding a coach that's going to work for you, right? Yeah. Because it's interesting. I have, the longer that I've done podcasting, the more I've been able to connect with people that I'm a good fit with. People say like they listen to me, they kind of understand me. And I'm sure the same is for you too, Skip, that people get your personality for better or worse. But they know, they're like, hey, I understand where Skip's coming from. And you get people that want to work with you because they get where you're coming from. But it's finding somebody. For me, it hasn't always been that way. In the past, people just wanted to work with me because they were looking for a coach, period. So lay it on us. What was your actual question?
Well, it kind of had rabbit holes, I think, when I was talking to you. But, essentially the question is what makes a good coach and what makes a good fit for someone, because, like you said too, it's really funny because the majority of my clients, like I would get an email from somebody and especially the females, and it would always start out like this. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I've been following you on Instagram for, I want to say 1 to 3 years. And I really admire your, it was your relationship with your daughter and your faith in God. And that's why I want to hire you.
Okay.
Like it had like the parts about like, and then they would go on like, you're in really good shape. I think you know what you're talking about, but it was really funny because the first points that led them to me were about, were personal stuff. So I think a lot of women are looking for more of a connection. But I feel like there's a lot of women out there who think like they will offer you that support and the motivation. But I'm wondering, do they have the experience and the capabilities of, like, do you know what to do when somebody is plateauing for weeks on end, but you don't just want to, you know what I mean? So I'm just curious, all in all, what do you think makes somebody a good coach and is qualified to go into coaching, and how do people search that out? Because my other let's say issue is people who don't know me who are like, well, hey, can we have a phone call? And I've done this in the past or met with people, and we'll talk for 2 or 3 hours, and a lot of times they just want to tell you everything that didn't work out,
right,
and needed to vent. And I want to say, and this is a conversation that John Jewett and I have had also, because he says everything has a price. And so he says a lot of times when you get somebody that just wants to tell you all this stuff, they don't hire you. They just needed that for that one point in their time and in their life or whatever. So I have, and I'm guessing all of you do too, have some sort of an assessment form, which I try to tell people, I'm going to send you this form. It has all the information that I need, but they feel like, I think a lot of people, like, I get it, because you need to trust somebody because it's a really big deal. Like it is really personal, I feel like. So how do you get that trust across in a short period of time and not waste your time? And what makes a good coach?
I would love to jump on this first, unless Scott wants it. I don't want to, cut in front of him. I think that things have changed dramatically over time. It used to be, because I'm old and I've been doing this for a while, it used to be that you were hired strictly for your track record and the fact that you were just very good at what you did. Right. There wasn't a lot of, people didn't really care as much about rapport, even the little things. I mean, people will know who go back a long time in this kind of industry or in this field of work. You know, there were a lot of people who were very good at what they did, and they would respond once or twice a week. And, it started to give, prep guys a bad name in that sense, because they kind of didn't care. A lot of them didn't care about response time. They didn't care about those little things. It was all about results. Now, as the field becomes watered down over the years, which it has dramatically changed in the last 15 years, the little things matter. And they should. I don't want to imply that they shouldn't. The little things matter. How you take care of your clients, the rapport you build, the relationship, the trust, response time, everything now factors into that, which brings us to a time where people want, and they can pick and choose because they kind of assume that everybody's going to give them essentially the same results. Now, that might not be at the higher levels of competition, okay? But when you get your average client who just wants to get lean or shredded or wants to get big or wants to change how they look, I think a lot of people naturally assume that there are a lot of people who can do that. So now I just kind of have to go in with the little things that are important to me, like she is a family, because I've heard the same thing. People have come to me and said, you're a family guy, you've been married, your kids, and I see how you interact with your kid. And I think to myself, God, why would that matter? It matters because they see those parallels as kind of a personal relationship, like they're kind of bonding with you, or they can relate to you. And I think people tend to think if they see the results are going to be, relatively the same across the board, but they're looking to you because, be it personality or the type of person you are. I think that those things clearly are factored in now. And especially when it comes to a good amount of money, they want those, which is a reason, to be honest with you, that I don't talk about religion and politics and social issues when it comes to the bodybuilding industry, because I don't mix my personal beliefs with business. Because if people don't believe and have the same belief system, they may not hire you or they may not pay you because they don't like your thoughts or your position on certain things. So I've always told people, I only do that on my personal page because I'm not going to mix business with personal things. So you have to be careful with things like that these days. It's kind of like, I'm not going to make a cake for a gay guy and all of a sudden your ass is broke and your doors are shut and you don't have a business anymore. I mean, holy shit. Yes, you have that right based on principle. But as capitalism works, it'll work itself out. So how do you...
Well, let me interrupt one second. I just want to say that I think that, despite us being different as far as our religious beliefs go, I think what we do have in common is that, I'm open and real about what I believe, and you are open and real about what you believe, which lends to character, which would, probably sway someone to say, these are both genuine people. Whether I agree with them or not, at least they're real and not hiding something. And I think that's a factor. Again, it seems like it all comes back to trust because, yeah, you're right. I think they do think anyone can get them results, which I don't agree. I don't agree that anyone can get someone results, but I think people think that all the coaches can do what they're supposed to be doing because they say they can. Now we go down to the little factors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that's where that that decision making comes into play. The little things matter, and people do want, and they deserve to be taken care of, and they want to know that your response time and how you that you give a shit about your clients. Quite frankly, there was a time years ago where that interpersonal relationship, there was no rapport, or there was very little. Yeah, it was business. I mean, it was you were a badass prep guy, based entirely on the results that you got. And that is all that people cared about. But there wasn't all these, I call it a sea of turds. I mean, I know that is not terribly positive, but it's how bad would it be the average person these days going out and going, okay, I know there's a lot of really good people out there. I want to work with someone who's real good. And you're just looking out over this vast sea of shitbags, and to find people with integrity and people who are good at what they do and I don't know how you do. I don't know how you find good people. I just don't. It would have to be very, very difficult to do.
Well, and I think that there's different aspects that people are failing to put out there, because a lot of people will promote themselves. And I just truly feel like just because you can get results with yourself does not mean that you can. I mean, especially if you're a bikini competitor, do you know what to do for a male bodybuilder? They're not going to be training like you. They're not going to be, I personally feel like the number one thing is client results. Like, if you have clients that are getting results, then you obviously, and it's a variety, I think you know what you're doing. But I think a lot of people get some sort of an education or a personal training certification or something, and suddenly they're a coach and they have no experience at all.
Right. Sure. Well, a lot of people will work with other people to get that experience. So then you have people who have little to no experience, but they can talk a good game because they've worked with and paid other people to gain or glean that information and kind of their experience, and then they run with that. The problem is, and I don't in any way want to say that your question isn't valid, because it's completely valid, and I couldn't agree with you more. The problem, though, is this. The game isn't going to change. We could talk about it till we're blue in the face, but the reality is people are going to hire people based entirely on them promoting themselves on social media. It's bizarre. I don't understand why people would do that, but they do it, and they do it every day, every freaking day.
Scott, you got anything you want to throw in here?
I mean, I would just say this from the standpoint of like finding a coach or somebody that or working well with clients. I mean, I think my stance is kind of like people in general. I mean, I don't, there's just stuff, I mean, they're there or to achieve an objective. So the one, they're not there to, the person's not hiring you for you to alter their mindset on non-related things to the training. So I kind of leave things pretty much. I just steer clear of pretty much anything that doesn't have to do with the actual client and what they want to achieve. With that too, I mean, I'd say from a coaching standpoint, I send a questionnaire out and I make it real clear that this program plan is about you, because we all get them. They're with you like a month and they start going, hey, my girlfriend wants to get in shape. Well, then your girlfriend needs to hire me, and sometimes you just got to be polite but blunt about things, and because I've learned that over the years, sometimes if you're not very direct with what's going on, then people will they give an inch, take a mile sometimes, and as far as like finding a good coach, I mean, you just got to find somebody who it's like anything in life. You have friends, you have people that you get along with well. I mean, some people just aren't gonna mesh, and I mean, they may not mesh with what you're trying to accomplish and what they want, what their direction. I mean, I think being real clear at the start of what your goals are and what they perceive them as and how you're going to achieve that is really important. But I would look for somebody, if I was looking for a coach, that's versatile, that has worked with a lot of different kinds of people, and maybe doesn't always just show you the best results they've ever gotten, and maybe has, some people that they've worked with that looked good, but they weren't, knocking the world on fire, winning, big competitions and shows and stuff. So they kind of give you a good broad spectrum, because experience is everything. The more you do it, the longer you do it, you can figure more things out, and you understand different physiques, different, men, women, whatever, and how what they need to achieve their goal. And, that's kind of my philosophy.
Well, I was going to say, when you were saying that, you said, I think it is really important to post those, or share the 10-pound weight loss between the girl that was 150 pounds and now she's 140 pounds and she doesn't look, you know, it's not like, oh my gosh, that's mind boggling. But, you know, I had made an Instagram post about this about, I don't know, a month or two ago. And just so that, you know, people aren't wowed by this, but most people want to lose 10 pounds and they can't do it. So, you know, you obviously need help somewhere because, you know, even the little bit of weight that you want to lose to make yourself feel better, you can't seem to do on your own. So,
yeah, I mean, it's you know, and people have to realize too, yeah, there's a coach, there's a client. So there's two elements to that progress. You know, I think we've all had people that, you know, you put them on a plan and they can't stay on it. And,
right.
You know, so there's self-discipline in that too, but yeah, it's, I mean, I think the industry, I don't know, I don't keep track of it as much as I used to, but it's pretty saturated. And I don't think having somebody who has a great physique automatically qualifies them to be a great coach. I think more times than not, it doesn't qualify them a lot of times. So,
yeah,
you know.
I can't disagree with that. I think that there are a lot of factors that I wish people could know going in. As an example, I think it would be vitally important for people who are looking for a coach to know, and there's really no way for them to know, but it would be nice if they knew that everybody picks and chooses the client pictures and the transformations very carefully that show their best results, the most dramatic results, and that sort of thing. It's just kind of an unwritten rule. It's really no different than, you know, the old Muscle Tech ads in muscle magazines or any supplement company for that matter, showing these massive, you know, transformations before and after. Those things, and there's no question that those dramatic transformations posted on social media, they make a huge difference, and they equal client inquiries pretty much no matter who you are. So, you know, where client progress and, you know, your results with clients obviously matters and should matter, there's also a component of the industry that picks and chooses not only the pictures they show, but they even get to the point where they pick and choose clients. As an example, if you're going to take on people who are naturally lean anyway and can get ripped and shredded relatively easy versus you work with a bunch of endomorphs who are metabolically challenged and have worked with these other people who are good, and they come to you and they say, hey, I can't get results with so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. I'm looking at it going, oh, come over here. We need to talk because that's the type of shit that I like. But am I going to kick out someone with this, like a condition from this type of client that is absurdly dramatic and shredded to the bone? Maybe not. Maybe not, because genetically they're not going to be able to do that. But yet I could get them into ridiculous condition compared to and relative to the people who worked with that person prior, and they're as happy as a pig in shit. So you don't really know what the results are, or the type of person, the type of metabolism you're working with, who you're dealing with, you know, based entirely on, or if you're basing it entirely on the pictures that you're seeing and things like that. There's just a lot of factors I think that a lot of people just cannot know going in when they pick a coach.
All right. This is good discussion. I appreciate the call, Deb.
Thanks.
All right. Take
care.
We will talk to you soon. And all right, guys, we gotta find out what we want to do next. We've got questions here on the board. We have other listener questions. We've got a couple more callers. What do you say we do here, Skip? You take the reins on this one.
Is it call or is it question? Is that where we're?
Yes, call or question.
At this crossroads.
Call or question, or we can call Nate and have him help us answer questions.
Okay, board question.
Board question. All right, I got a good one. I sat on this one last week because I wanted to find out more information. Okay, this is a female. She says she would like to remain anonymous. If this is going to be read on the air, please. 28 years old. She's been lifting since 2012. Currently does not compete, but she lives the bodybuilding lifestyle and would like to add muscle mass to her frame. She's like, I've seen her pictures on social media. She's definitely like a true ectomorph. I have previously tried anabolics. I ran a short cycle of Anavar and had bad side effects, severe water retention, cystic acne, and clitoral growth. I later tried DECA and took a mild dose for an 8-week cycle. DECA was okay, but I had pretty bad water retention with that as well. It has been 3 to 4 years since that, and I am considering trying another cycle of a different compound. I was hoping to find something that has few sides and would be looking at a minimal dose. I just listened to your episode released with the caller Haley, who mentioned, what is this, Scott? Andorine?
Oh, Anadrol. I mean,
Andriol.
Andriol. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't do Anadrol.
Yeah, it's Andarine. Andorine. I have been considering taking this or Primobolan. What are your thoughts on these two compounds? Vague question, I know. Sorry. And how would you dose it? Thanks again for the great content. Love all of the advices shows. And so I talked to her a little bit more to find out exactly what her goals were. Yeah, she's definitely eating a high calorie diet. Like I said, she's a true ectomorph. She would like to build as much muscle as she can. I don't think she wants to go as far as being like the top end of women's physique, but she's on her way toward figure. The thing is that with her frame, it's hard to fill up. You know what I mean? It's like she's definitely somebody who doesn't gain fat or muscle easily. So at her size, I don't know how much she weighs. I'm not sure how tall she is, but she looks like she's probably like 10% body fat with capped delts, but still a very petite feminine look.
What was the first thing? What was the first thing she took before the DECA?
Before Anavar. The DECA, was Anavar.
And I don't think it was Anavar based on the response that she got. That to hold more water on Anavar than DECA would lead me to believe, just myself, that was not Anavar, unless the dosing was just really high. I mean, you're just not going to hold a ton. I understand that everybody's different. I've had clients hold water on Anavar. I want to say that and get that out there. But the implication, I mean, it sounds like she's implying that it was a significant amount of water. And let me point out, because I think this is really important. She listed the bad side effects. I do not consider an enlarged clitoris to be a bad side effect. And I don't know why women do. I don't know why that's so negative. Now, to each their own, and I understand that if you're not used to that type of situation, that could be like, oh my God, it's going to continue to grow. It's going to be bigger than my head by the time that I'm the size that I want to be. But that's not necessarily the case. Now, I'm not picking on her. I'm just making the point that that's not such a bad side effect.
Could make things easier, per se.
Or more fun, per se. Yes.
More fun more often.
Definitely more often, yes.
A lot more often, maybe.
No question.
Well, down to business, though. What do you guys think here? Because the thing is that she said she doesn't compete, and I was concerned that you guys were going to be like, well, she just doesn't really need to take anything. She just needs to eat more. But then, like I said, I talked to her, and I can't remember what her calories were, but she was eating a considerable amount of food, and she's got that itch in her brain that she wants to get jacked. She wants to put more size on.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell her not to. Here's what I would say. Here's my advice. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I would go back and get. And I'm not saying she didn't before, but I would go back and check, do it again. Get what you think is real Anavar. Try it again. If you get the same response, then you can almost pretty much kick it out and go, okay, not going to come back to it. Then if that happens, and that's the case, and you know that you're going to hold a significant amount of water on Anavar, you are going to be kind of limited, I would think. Then it becomes a game that is basically trial and error. You're going to have to try. Primo, see how you respond. If you respond favorably, then you're going to know you can keep that on your list of things that might work and not give terribly bad side effects. The fact that she took DECA and I would say possible that maybe you could go to an MPP that is low dose. I don't, I understand that people may think, well, I don't know if that's a good, but if it's trial and error. You have to see, and you're going to have to see what works, because primarily because she stated that the Anavar, didn't work very well. And I do think that someone in her position who doesn't want to or isn't willing to, and I respect that, to kind of just throw everything at the situation to get as big and muscular as possible, wants to keep everything in balance, doesn't want to deal with a lot of side effects. You're going to have to be careful with the low dosing, and you are limited. You're even more limited when you can't use Anavar, or if she can't use Anavar. So my guess, though, is that is likely that was not Anavar. That's just my guess, though. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, I would tell her probably at this stage what I would do, because she's concerned with sides, is if she hasn't tried Asterin, I would go with that. Probably 12.5 milligrams a day, because she's not going to get side effects from it. If that gets some good results, which with a lot of women it does, and it's safe, she could just use that. If she's looking to get more out of it, I mean, since she's used the other two, I would say like 10 milligrams of Test Pro Monday and Thursday, and see how that worked for her, because if she had problems with Anavar, she had problems with Deca, then it's it's another route she could go. But I would go with the Asterin first and see how that worked for her. That's probably what I would do.
Is it Asterin or Asterine?
Asterine, whatever.
I just wondered.
MK2866.
Because I hear it both. I just thought of like the tomato conversation.
It's a tomato.
Hypertrophy or hypertrophy?
Hypertrophy. I like that. Hypertrophy.
Rich Gaspari or Rich Gaspari?
Gaspari.
Yeah, I used to call him Gaspari, yeah. And then I heard somebody call him Gaspari. I was like, and this is when I was a teenager. I was like, I've been saying that wrong for 5 years.
Either way, though.
And
don't follow Skip.
Yeah.
Don't follow Skip on Facebook either. That would be another thing I'd tell her not to do.
I just blocked him, actually.
Yeah.
While we were on this call.
You can follow me on my business page, just not on my family page, because that's where I talk about things that make people mad.
Oh.
Yes. I offend everybody.
Yeah. You know what I noticed? I didn't say this while we were talking to her, but I'm in recovery, and I've had people that are in recovery, and they're like, "Hey, I wanted to hire you because you're in recovery too." And I think that's cool. I like that, there is a level of understanding that I can have with other people that are in recovery, but it doesn't mean that like I'm a guru or a therapist, or, you know what I mean? It's like, like what I can do for bodybuilding. I mean, yeah, there is something that goes into that, but at the same time, it's like, it doesn't affect, I guess, the job we are doing. You know what I mean?
No, it's a personal connection. It's kind of like the gay community is very, very supportive of, their dentist is going to be gay, their doctor is going to be gay. Yeah. I understand that it's a personal connection, and it's like, you know what, you're more like me, and I want to be supportive of that. I get it. Yeah. I think what it does, though, is it proves that our industry is incredibly watered down, because there are so many options above and beyond the results that people can start to go, well, I like him because he's white too, so I'm going to go. Yeah, you know what I mean? Just things that are really don't matter for shit.
You're talking about racist people? You're like, I like him because he's white.
Yeah, no, racist. Like, I'm a racist, so I want to work with somebody else who's racist. Or, he likes cats too. Oh, that's cute. I like cats, so I'm going to work with him. The fuck? You're going to work with me because I like cats? I mean, really. And
then maybe like you would see my cat in one of my progress pictures, and you would remember that, and then we would bond. And before you know it,
bad to say, but this is the truth. I have clients who send me, and they say I can post them, and I haven't posted them yet.
Yeah.
They send me check-in or progress pictures, and the last picture will have them holding their cat doing one of the and it's the funniest shit. I laugh every fucking time. And I have these pictures, and I have yet to post them. I don't know why I haven't.
Yeah.
But it's just funny shit to me. Anyway.
It is funny. You cat people, it's like it's a real thing,
Yes. Yeah.
It's a deep bond between cat people. I think we have another call here. Let's go to that real quick. I'll see if we can get this guy together. I think he is not from the U.S. actually.
Okay, I gotta pee.
Okay.
Damn, I was just gonna say, give me just a second then, because I wanted to grab my food.
Here we go. Let's do this, guys. Let's take a quick commercial break. Let's hear about TeamSkip.com and True Nutrition. Guys, we will be back in just a minute with our next caller.
Perfect.
I'm holding my wiener. I got to pee.
I'm going to see if my marijuana card is in. I'm supposed to get one in the mail. Hey guys, thanks for listening to Blood, Sweat, and Gear, and thank you to S2H and to Skip Hill. Guys, Team Skip has been synonymous with bodybuilding conditioning for the last 2 decades. From NFL players to pro bodybuilders to 40-something guys that just want to kill it in the gym and their shirt sleeves. If you have too much skin, call Skip. TeamSkip.com, because skin is overrated. Hey guys, why are you using sports nutrition that was designed for someone else? At TrueNutrition.com, they offer the world's largest selection of quality protein powders, and they let you design your own custom blend from a variety of powders, flavors, boosts, and packaging options, like the Team Skip blend, for instance. That's over 20 billion possible combinations to create a protein powder tailored to your diet, your goals, your tastes, and your budget. TrueNutrition.com also offers the ability to create delicious custom oatmeal blends, and they're third-party tested, proving that all their supplements are ensured to have the highest level of quality and value. Don't be a sucker and pay for fancy packaging and gimmicks. Discover the source that bodybuilders trust and stop using mass-produced nutrition that wasn't designed for you. TrueNutrition.com, and use our code ADVICES at checkout to let them know that you support the shows.
No shorty, I've had the worst day, and we don't really have the money in the first place. And in the morning, gotta be up so early, gotta do a work thing. Yo, you can put that on my surname on stage with the shirt stain. Never been a shirt thing, but I always love the way the herb tastes. Always hate the thirst made, love my edges perforated. Driving to the third place is work day. I know I never learn, but I earn wage. Got no time to work out, so I'll turn shape.
Hi, Doc. Hello.
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
Very good. This you're talking to Scott. I've got S2H and Skip Hill. Who are we talking to here?
This is Elliot.
Elliot, man, where you at?
I'm in Sheffield in the UK.
Hell yeah, man. How's life in the UK today?
Freezing, but I don't think it's as cold as it is where you guys are. I think it's still a bit warmer than it is for you guys, I think.
Right on, man. Well, say hi to the guys, Scott and Skip Hill.
Scott, hi, Skip. How are we doing?
What's going on, man?
I'm going to read your messages with that accent. That's awesome. I like to hear people, and then when I read their shit, I'll read it how they sound. You guys do that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah, when I read your articles, Skip, like over Elite FTS, I hear your voice now when I read them.
That's awesome.
So, what's your question today, Elliot?
My main question for you guys really is, I mean, I'm sort of really scientific when it comes to my nutrition. I'm sort of an ex sort of really fat guy that sort of got to be honest with you, got into like an anorexic sort of state.
Okay.
To be fair. So now I'm the complete other end of the scale, obviously trying to sort of build it back up again. I think I'm probably sitting at about 141, 142. So I look more like a marathon runner than a bodybuilder at the moment. But so I mean, when I get sort of scientific with my nutrition, I'm really interested in obviously the optimal way to grow and try and keep as much condition as possible when when obviously trying to grow when in sort of an off season sort of period. I mean, I've got a really great coach over here called Chris Wormley, who wrote a book called Break the Code, which is an absolutely brilliant book. And obviously his sort of nutrition sort of stances and things are obviously something that really interests me, and it got me into thinking how, sort of you guys and other, sort of other guys in the bodybuilding world set up their sort of nutrition to optimally grow and keep us, as good conditions as possible when trying to put some size on, which is, the stage I'm at now, really.
You kind of broke up a little bit. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
What is he asking?
He wants to grow but stay in good conditioning.
Okay, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure if I was missing anything. Do you want to take this one first, Scott, or do you want to take it, Skip?
No, I mean, I could jump on it. I mean, I think one of the things people, especially if you've been heavy before, the mental side of it, you don't want to get back in that place. So it tends to, I think most people when they I've worked with, for the most part, want to grow and they want to stay in, good shape, which is doable, but you have to be realistic to like, okay, how much can I grow and stay in decent condition, but are you going to stay in the same condition you're in at the weight you're at now? No, I mean, I just use the adage of, if you got a 6-pack, don't go past losing that turtle shell as you grow. And, you got a coach, so obviously he's going to set up a plan for you, but you can't obsess with, okay, I got to stay in the exact same condition I'm in now and try to grow at the same time. There's some give and take in it, and you just have to live with that.
Yeah. Well, I think too, with that growth, I'm in a similar situation myself right now because I insist on being in really good condition and staying in good condition. It's more health related than anything else, especially because I'm getting older, but I can't stand not being in condition. So I can relate in the sense, and my point is, as you're going through the growth process, if you're going to err on the side of staying lean, you have to know and be aware that is going to be at some point limiting with the gains. It kind of has to, okay? You could get lucky, and it may not, but it almost certainly is. So at the same time, I can appreciate that that's your approach because you have that psychological component of not wanting to gain. It's like you can't, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of a fear in a sense of gaining too much. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can sort of see where you guys are coming from with it. I mean, it's not, sort of possible to grow and get shredded. It's, otherwise everybody be doing it. I mean, I've got no sort of issues with getting heavier. I think obviously what I've got to sort of try and realise is getting heavier this time round is, with my training being right and diet right, is going to be good muscle mass and obviously a little bit of fat.
Sure.
And it's, now, it's not going to get me to the point I was at before.
Right. Now, were you fat or carrying a very high level of body fat before and you don't want to get back to that point? Or have you been relatively lean most of your life, but you just have a fear of being overweight or carrying too much body fat?
I definitely wasn't lean as a teenager. I was, I sort of drank a lot and went to a lot of parties and just didn't really exercise that much. But I mean, I'm obviously probably the leanest I've been now at 141, but that's obviously from the sort of the eating issues kicking in, so it's not a good lean. But I've got no no sort of problem getting heavier or anything like that, because so this time around I know it'd be muscle and not the sort of drink and binge induced sort of state it was when I was sort of in my early sort of 20s, sort of, if you get what I mean there.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm kind of curious. So I've got another question for you. After being in that state, you kind of explain it as kind of an anorexic type of phase or situation. Do you find that your body is growing relatively easily as you start to, maybe not, hugely dramatic and all these big gains, because I'm sure you're being careful and incrementally taking your calories up and keeping control of them.
Exactly.
But do you notice that, hey, I'm responding quite well to this because I've been in such a restricted state for so long? Or is your body still in that transition mode where it's like, I don't know, I've been beat down for quite a while. It's been a stress for quite a while. So your body isn't responding as well, at least to this point.
What I did sort of first one, I sort of decided to overcome it. Obviously, I mentioned, the coach, Chris there that I have. I went to sort of see him and explain my situation. And obviously he's sort of written me that diet out, and it's working brilliantly. I mean, I've slowly worked my way back up to the full 6-7 meals that's on it. And the first thing I did was took my fiance out for a meal and said, look, I'm getting over this now. I had a burger, chips, and full box of chocolates, all that sort of thing, which I'd not sort of had any sort of calories that dense for a long time. And then I'd sort of 2-3 days of maybe 3-4 small sort of meals, and then built it back up. But she even sort of said to me, she said, since you've had that really big cheat meal and put your food back in slowly, and over the last couple of weeks, she seems to think I actually obviously look better and actually look leaner, sure. Even though I've put maybe, I don't know, 6-7 pounds on from the anorexic state, but I look a lot leaner than I did when I wasn't sort of eating. So I mean, that's the mindset that's given me, is obviously the food is working and the training is working. So
sure. Well, and it's good to hear that, because I know, you and I, the listeners don't know this, but you and I have exchanged messages, on and off, at least the last few weeks. So it's really nice to, to hear that things are going well, and especially that you're working with someone to help to keep that structure and to keep you on track. Because I'm sure at times, and correct me if I'm wrong, but at times you kind of probably struggle with it. That psychological component can be, pretty difficult to deal with. So, I'm happy to hear that. Good deal.
Yeah, brilliant, man. I mean, that's obviously reaching out to you guys, and then it sort of helps. Like I said, I messaged you there sort of previously, and then obviously went to see my local coach and things. Obviously, the combination of those things, and I still look at a protein shake or a chicken and rice meal and get a bit anxious occasionally, but I just sort of put into my head that it's doing it for the benefit of where I want to be, which isn't looking like a marathon runner. It's being on stage. It's going to, in a long time, obviously to get to that level from sort of the state I am now. But that's obviously why I reach out to people as much as I can, and got help from my coach Chris Wimley, and that it helps massively. I think you guys with the podcast, and even sort of responding to random messages you might get on Instagram or whatever from people, it really does. So it really helps swing people's mindsets, and I don't think enough people realize that a little message can make something so miraculous happen for people. So I really appreciate it.
That's cool. That's good to hear. I think too, things are you've had a couple positive things happen recently. If I'm not mistaken, didn't you and your fiance, didn't something happen that you guys won? I don't want to put too much personal information out there, so I'm being careful with what I say.
No, she entered a competition, my fiance. So we got engaged back in October. She entered a competition to, basically there was three stages to the competition. The first was winning the wedding venue itself. The second was the catering, and the third was the actual honeymoon. So we got a phone call last Sunday saying that we basically won round one, which was £7,500 or £8,000, which I think is probably about $10,000 worth of wedding venue.
Wow!
We'd automatically be entered for the honeymoon. So a lot of sort of positive things. Me starting with my eating and my training again, and that sort of happened all in the space of a week to 10 days. It's been a bit of what's been a bumpy sort of 6 to 8 months has just absolutely turned on its head in the last sort of week or so. So it's one of those karma things, I think, really, and sort of reinforces the universe kind of side to you, doesn't it? I suppose.
That's very cool. Yeah. I saw that and I thought that was pretty neat. Good deal.
That's badass. When are you guys getting married?
Well, we've got to actually redeem the winning of the venue before June 2020. So it's going to be within the next sort of 18 months. Well, it's got to be, otherwise we'd sort of lose out on using that $10,000 sort of prize. And we didn't really want to do it that quickly, but when it's saving that much money, you've got to take advantage, I suppose, haven't you? So.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah, man! All right, well, cool. Congratulations on that, and I hope that the guys have helped a little bit here, and keep fighting the good fight, man. It sounds like you're putting some weight on and putting it in the way you want to.
Absolutely. Thanks for your help, guys. I'll obviously sort of keep in touch as well, Skip as well, and everybody else. Thanks for everything, guys. Appreciate it.
Sounds great. Take it easy, Alex.
Man. Thank you.
All right. Hey, I got a lot of good feedback from the last episode. People want to hear a Skip Hill, Paul Carter episode.
Everybody but Paul.
Right.
Come on now. I got to work this guy. I got to stay on him. You know what? I think if it wasn't for the time commitment, which kind of, if just hearing myself say that sounds kind of silly, because I think we would all do a lot more if it weren't for a time commitment.
Right.
But I think he likes, and I may be wrong, but I think he likes the idea of it. I think the commitment, though, to the time and the consistency of it, I don't think he's there yet, it's disappointing, because I've gotten a lot of feedback since that podcast, came out as well, that a lot of people say, I would love to listen to that. It'd be a great podcast. And I thought that. I told you, I've been on you for a year and a half saying, I got to get this guy to do this. It would be so good. It'd be so fun. Maybe it's selfish, because I would have fun with it.
Skip, define a lot of people.
4, basically. Okay. And one is my mom. Yeah. Well, my mom, and then the other one's my 14-year-old daughter, so I mean 2, basically, if I'm being honest.
Just making sure.
All right. I'm looking through what we have here. Let's see, we could get a hold of Nate. What do you guys say we give him a call, see what he's up to?
Call Nate. See what's up with Nate.
All right.
Nate. No, I'm in my closet.
You're in your closet? How are you liking that new studio setup? It sounds like it's hot in there from everything you're telling us.
What's up?
What's up, man? We got Nate back on the line. Nate, I'm with S2H and Skip.
Yeah, the Wolfpack.
So you know Scott and Skip now, but Scott was telling me about your music. I don't think we really talked much about that last time we had you on.
Yeah, it's a little side gig I got, man. I've been doing the guitar and the singing thing since I was like a teenager. I used to be in these little punk rock bands, and now that I've gotten older, I've kind of made a part-time gig for it on the side, man. I play a lot of country and mainly Southern rock, because that's what people down here in the Redneck Riviera like to hear. So yeah, it's just whatever pays, man. Whatever pays, man. So there's a handful of places over here that I play with frequently, man. Some pool decks during the summer times, and restaurants, and some smoky bars.
Nice, man. So you play guitar and you sing, right?
Right.
What's the name of your band?
I'm a solo act, man. I don't have a band.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So I don't have to rehearse. I don't have to split my money with anybody. I just kind of do what I want to do. So it's nice.
So we would say we're going out, and tonight we're going to watch Nate Pennington. That's just what we say. It's not like the Nate Pennington quartet or anything like that.
Nah. I'm solo.
How long you been lifting for, man? Because I know you last time. So just to catch everybody up, guys, we had Nate on a while ago, and I thought you were a total character, man. You've got personality. You've been lifting a long time, and I felt like this guy has some good information. Why don't we bring Nate on? Ask him, if he'll help us out, maybe answer a couple questions.
Yeah, man, I know enough to at least fake it. Make it sound like I know what I'm talking about.
That's why you fit right in here.
There you go. Yeah, I started lifting when I was 15. I was kind of scrawny, and I remember it was the summer before my freshman year, and so I started going to the gym with my pops, and man, he taught me the basics, and I just kind of rolled with it. I'm 36 now, so. About 21 years now that I've been at it, man. I still love it. I still like going to the gym. It's like my favorite part of the day,
Am I the only one who thinks he sounds like Darius Rucker?
Who's Darius Rucker?
Did you seriously say? I can't even believe you just said, "Who's Darius Rucker?"
I legitimately, I don't know I don't know names. Who is that?
I'm not telling you now. No. Scott, help me out. Does it sound like Darius Rucker?
Burning up that Google now.
Exactly.
You talking about him in person or singing?
Nah, just talking here.
I know who Darius Rucker is. I don't really follow
it. Probably looks more like Darius Rucker.
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah.
I was going to say, Scott, what are you saying? Are you dancing around the fact that I think he sounds black? If that's the case, just go ahead and say it.
I mean,
throw that racist comment out there. If that's what
I didn't. Darius Rucker did not jump to my mind, but
it's the accent, I think. But
I don't know. Okay. I mean, I've talked to him so much over the years that Darius Rucker never jumped to my mind.
Yes, that's a first for me, but I'll take it.
Not Hootie, Darius Rucker.
Oh, yeah, same thing.
It's not the same thing.
He can probably sing like Darius Rucker.
Maybe. I don't know. Okay. I took that off. I apologize to everybody. I took that off in a different direction. I thought I was going to get a yes out of it. I got nothing.
I don't know who Darius Rucker is still.
I don't even. Yeah, he can't spell.
I'm still lost.
Trying to Google it. Yeah, he's trying to Google it, but he can't spell Darius.
All right, so we're going to put Nate on the hot seat here. He can help us answer some questions. I'm going to go over to the forum. We got forum.advicesradio.com. We are in the bodybuilding section. We've got the blood, sweat, and gear thread. And let's see. So this guy says, hey, gents, this is a question for all three of you. Well, it's going to be for all four of us now. What is the one thing that you would change added from when you first started your bodybuilding weightlifting journey? I was listening to Dave Pulcinella on The Pulse, and he said that he would have stretched more. He said that it would have helped his mobility and maybe stopped him from getting injured. I'm going to let Nate simmer on this one for a few. Since he's not used to sitting in and answering questions, I'm going to give him time, and I'm going to put you on the hot seat first, Skip. What if you were to change anything, with what you know now, if you could go back and talk to a younger Skip?
That's an easy one, actually, because I come from, and I'm betting Nate did, well, most of you, except for you, probably, Scott, come from the magazine era. So I assumed everybody was lean all the time. So what I would do is I would go back and I would fucking eat. And I would actually grow for real, because I spent my teenage years, I started when I was 14. Not really. I just want to one-up Nate by saying that I started 1 year there. It's like he bench presses. I'm going to ask him how much he benches before I say how much I do, to make sure I win. It's just that sort of thing. But I think that was it's easily my biggest mistake. I was too busy and was convinced that everybody was ripped and lean all the time. And I was trying to get lean and ripped more so than I was trying to get big. And it was a bad mistake.
How about you, Scott?
I wouldn't change anything because I don't give a shit. I would have done the same thing. Actually, though, I would have kept my original Lou Ferrigno arm blaster forever that somewhere I lost.
That gold arm blaster.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I don't really dwell that far in the past. So, unlike Skip,
I do.
And
I long for my teenage days, to be honest with you.
I've done the same
they
thing.
still got those things around. They're just black now. They don't got that vintage gold look to them anymore.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they got they got padding. They got padding where your arms go.
Yep.
They're all pussies now.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's foam. Yeah. They're going to make another one probably that swivels before too long.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have done the same stuff.
All right. How about you, Nate? I'm still thinking, so I'm buying myself time here.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the lines with S2H on this one. 'Cause I thought about it for a minute, and I'm like, it's kind of hard to think of it as a mistake if you learn from it. You know what I mean? So I mean, if I did things differently, I don't know if I'd be as progressive as I am now. But one thing that I learned over the past 21 years is that just because of aches and pains that I've had, and having to and 15, 16, 17 years later having to take like a week off or 4 weeks off, due to an ailment, I realize now that I probably was a bit too obsessive compulsive back in the day about having to do X amount of sets and X amount of reps and having to get X amount of protein and X amount of water. Because maybe this is maybe because I'm so developed now that this is kind of like homeostasis, and I can get away with not squatting heavy and sticking to compound movements and bench press and progressively overloading and hitting my macros every day. Maybe I've gotten to the point now where I can be a little more laxadative with my approach and not really shrink, but there's been mainly the time comes to mind where I tore my labrum in my shoulder, and so this was probably like 5-6 years ago, and so and up until that point, at the time I trained like 15 or 16 years, I would never taken off any more than like 3 or 4 days from the gym ever for like 15 or 16 years. And at that point, the things got so bad, I couldn't press and I couldn't pull. So that pretty much eliminates all upper body movements. And I'm just like, so I'm just going to stop working out. So I quit for like 6 weeks. I scaled back on my food just a little bit because I wasn't burning it as much. And after 6 weeks and it felt a little better, I'm looking at myself. I'm like, I pretty much look the same. You know what I mean? So like maybe I was just kind of too hard on myself over the years, thinking that I have to go in there and just kill my body in order to progress, or at least keep from regressing. You know what I mean? So I feel like maybe I could have saved myself a little bit of aches and pains if I wasn't so obsessive compulsive about going in every single day and hitting it hard and heavy. You know what I mean? So now I'm I guess train smarter, not harder. I just kind of felt like that I always had to do these compound lifts. And I remember Dante years ago talking about it, and people that oftentimes, he didn't want to take on any more clients for his new dog crap training because everybody was so obsessed compulsive about I have to hit this amount of volume. And I feel like I was probably one of those guys. You know what I mean? Because every time he would advise somebody just do this amount of sets, they were like, how about I just do just a little bit of flies or a little bit of cables, this, that, or the other. And he's like, no. So I feel like I was probably one of those obsessive compulsive guys where I felt like there's certain things that I have to do, when now in reality, 21 years later, I'm like, I probably just could have chilled out a little bit and maybe have been better off as far as like an injury perspective, now in my mid 30s.
You know what? I think that's a good one. And I'm gonna ride on that. I'm gonna say something similar, because I remember when I was a kid and I started learning how to train, I learned from my dad and his friends. And I remember telling them like, oh, this really hurts my shoulder. And they didn't understand what I meant. And they told me, like, I remember my dad telling me like, oh, you just got to push through that pain. And it wasn't the good pain. You know what I mean? And I ended up hurting myself a lot, not listening to my body. If I could go back and re-educate myself, I probably, because some of it too, I was trying to do like perfect form. And back then, like the idea of perfect form it's kind of different than it is now. Like I felt like, if I'm doing the bench press, my elbows needed to be in exactly this position, but then my elbows would start hurting if I held them that way. Then later I learned to be a little bit looser and kind of use the form that worked for my body. And I still got progress. You know what I mean? So that was like a real early on thing. I can't think of anything else offhand, but I like Nate's answer. That's a good one.
Yeah. It's kind of a difficult thing to answer when you look at the depending on what generation you started. Like Skip mentioned, back when days was before the internet, when it was just magazines. You know what I mean? And and so you're really out of the loop on what's really going on outside of what these people look like in their contest shape. And because I remember just being, these guys these days, they got so much knowledge at the tip of the fingers, at the strike of a keyboard, as opposed to, back in the day, I always thought it was I'm looking in the magazines and I'm seeing these pros and what they look like. And they got their diet in there, they got their weight training in there. And so I'm doing the diet, I'm doing the weight training. And so far, from like 15 to 19, I was just, made progression and I was consistent, but I still didn't look like the pros. So in my mind, I was like, the only missing link is the drugs. The only thing they're not doing that I'm not doing is anabolics, So when I was probably about like 19 or 20 when I started experimenting with that. And at the time, there were no like these, underground labs like we got now where everything's, so available. You had to like know somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who went to Mexico and brought stuff back. And you were paying like $20. You were paying like $20 for a Cestanon Ready Jet with the 18 gauge needle on it. So I wish, and then after you finally get on the drugs, and that does take it to a whole new level, but obviously you don't look like a pro, and that's when the reality of genetics kind of just smacks you in the face and be like, oh, okay, that's why they look like they do. It's because they were born with it and I'm not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We also didn't have the internet to tell us that the supplements that the magazines were touting as the way to look like those pros, was bullshit either. Sometimes, and I don't want to sound like that old guy, but I sometimes really just shake my head at how much information, really good quality information, is at the fingertips of this, younger generation. And they don't have to sift through as much bullshit. I understand there's still bullshit out there, but we were force-fed, the Weeder products making you huge and buff, and there was no one to counter that. Like, if you didn't see the lack of, if you didn't see that was illogical and didn't make sense, no one was telling you. right now you're being told everywhere that that is bullshit and the drugs will make you huge. It took me 5 years, 4 or 5 years to figure out till I was probably 17 or 18 years old to go, oh, I got to take a bunch of drugs. My bad.
Yeah.
All right. He's got one more second part to his question. Actually, it's just a second question. He says, let's see. Oh, I lost my spot. He says, okay, here it is. One other thing, I'm 25 years old. I'm a stonemason / builder. Hard physical job, lifting granite around every day. I hit the gym hard 4 days a week. I feel I am burning the candle at both ends, and my central nervous system is taking a hammering. Is there anything out there apart from GH and rest, or tips that you might have in aiding my recovery for optimal benefit? Thanks. Great show, guys. Always listening on my way home from the gym in Aberdeenshire, Scotland. Huh.
Damn.
Any of you guys are welcome to jump in if you could think of something offhand. I mean, realistically, he says, is there anything to help with recovery outside of GH and rest? Well, gear, but nutrition is probably the first and foremost thing. Rest is big, but what is there anything you can do with nutrition, Skip? What do you suggest there?
Well, honestly, my response isn't going to be one that is probably terribly awesome. And that is, the truth really is when you have a very physical or laborious job like that, it gets in the way of bodybuilding. I'm not telling them to quit his job. All I'm saying is there's really no, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with your nutrition? You can increase calories. You can make sure you have more sleep. But the truth is that's just a very, very difficult and physically demanding job. So if he had a job that was not as physically demanding, that would benefit his progress and, him progressing better. Take any of your bodybuilders, and I understand that we have been accused of having a lazy generation and everything else, but even when Arnold was a carpenter, I doubt he was moving, granite countertops or cutting granite or mason work and everything else daily, day in, day out. That's just not common. And the reason is because you're using a lot of the energy for your job and that you would rather or be better off spent in the gym getting shit done and progressing with your goals. That's really the truth of it. So I don't know. I don't know what he could do. Obviously, gear, the obvious components are making sure he has plenty of calories, making sure he's fully hydrated. I might train before I worked versus training after I worked during the day. But these are minor little things to try to get around a pretty big obstacle, to be honest.
Yeah. Nate, you got anything for us?
Yeah, well, there's the gear component, but I feel like that would be a kind of a Band-Aid. It's not like you can just stay on gear all the time just so you can recover the way that you want to, because then you got to consider the health ramifications of being on gear all the time just so you can recover from this labor-intensive job and hit the weights at the same time. So I think a lot of it just comes down on depending on what his objective is. Is he trying to grow? Is he trying to prep for a show, or cosmetically what his goals are? But yeah, as far as CNS goes, you're getting all more science even than what I'm capable of thinking. But yeah, obviously rest. And you got those hocus pocus things, like the blue blockers, CBD oil to help you, get a different type of REM and the type of quality sleep you need versus quantity. So if you want to nitpick and start, playing around with these little things, I call them like little 2%ers. It might make a 2 or 3% difference, but if you do a lot of these little 2%ers, over time it can kind of add up and you can benefit from it. But and also it comes down to, I guess, how important is it to you? You know what I mean? Obviously you got to provide for yourself, and especially if you got a family and you don't want to walk away from financial security just so you can pursue bodybuilding. You know what I mean? Right. So like myself, I'm in the fire service. I'm a firefighter. So my day can vary from, like, yesterday I sat on my ass all day and watched pregame Super Bowl stuff. I didn't run any calls. So I was very sedentary. I got up and I walked on the treadmill I do that a handful of times if it's a slow shift, but then there's other days where I can be on a woods fire or a structure fire all day or all night. in which case I kind of might have to modify my training a little bit, when the day that I get off to kind of accommodate, how my body's feeling, you know what I mean? So it's kind of hard for somebody to answer that question without knowing exactly what you're feeling like physically, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can throw one thing in there.
What's that?
If you're in a very labor intensive job, get promoted so you're in charge. You can just watch them work.
Exactly. I was going to go there as well. I was thinking the same thing. Buy the company, have somebody else do it, pay someone else to do that damn work.
Mm-hmm.
Progress up the ladder. I mean, I've known people that I've had a pretty labor intensive job before, and I'll tell you, when I got to the management stage, it was less labor intensive. So that or quit and just go on welfare and sell drugs. But, that's a whole other option. But I wouldn't recommend that one. But, yeah, I mean, try to, not everywhere, has an opportunity to move up or something. But, you just got to work your way around it, try to manage your time as good, as efficiency as possible. So, or be a fireman and just lay around the firehouse and watch TV, those guys.
All right. I got one here from 38 Special. Now, Nate,
sing it.
You were mentioning, Nate, that about Dante. Have you done DC training?
Yeah, when I first started reading about it, that was probably like during the inception of I guess bodybuilding forums. Actually, the first place I heard about it was Skip's site, Intense Muscle.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was probably
nice.
Like 2000. That was probably like 2002. And
nice.
I remember they had like anybody who was anybody, like important people, Skip, Dante was on there, Scott Stevenson, Homo Nucleus, I think was the screen name. And, so that was just a cesspool of awesome information. And I was a college kid at the time, so outside of classes, man, I would just just sit there and just try to take it all in.
All right. Well, this would be a good question for you.
Going with this.
Well, this would be, I was asking because this will be a good question for you to chime in on too. This question was directed at Skip. He says, Skip, looking back at the philosophies regarding DC style training and eating, which ones do you differ or disagree with? And he adds, he'll be posting the same question for Dr. Scott Stevenson, fellow DC alumni.
That's actually a pretty interesting. That's a good question.
It's unique. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Well, first I'll say, and I don't want this to sound like I'm riding Dante's nuts or whatever the latest cliche is to make it sound like I agree with everything he says. Dante would say the same thing. We butted heads many times over the years on things, I think respectfully, but that we just aren't on the same page with. And I will say, though, that the DC training protocol, I guess is the best way to put it, that entire plan or protocol is pretty rock solid. I mean, I used it with very few adjustments or tweaks for about 3.5 years, and I gained quite a bit on it. Made very good progress, that sort of thing. The few things that come to mind that I don't agree with, and I don't think they're necessarily wrong, it's just a different style or it's a different approach. I don't believe that separating fats from carbs means anything at all. I don't think it's bad. And sometimes in my diets, because people have questioned me about it before, they're like, well, you don't agree with that, but you do that in your own diets. There's a point where I will get to as calories get lower and lower, that yes, there will be meals without carbs and fats together. But not entirely, because you still have fat from, meat and stuff like that. But anyway, that's not one of the things that I believe is a key component of getting lean that you have to do. As far as the training, I don't think that any of the training, I don't think anything I think goes against any of his training philosophies off the top of my head, other than I do believe that you have to be very, very careful, especially the older demographic, and that's why there are variations for the older demographic with DC training. To do it by the book when you're older is a, in my opinion, a hell of a gamble. I had said a couple minutes ago that I made very, very good progress during that time, and I did. Some of the best gains that I've had were in that time. Yet at the same time, I did have the most injuries as well. And that's been a bone of contention. Dante and I went back and forth on Intense Muscle about that, because that irritated him, because he was saying, well, it could have been, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something to the effect of, obviously, maybe I could have warmed up better, or I didn't warm up as good, things like that. But the truth really is no matter what intensity techniques you're using, you're when you put yourself in a situation where you're training balls out and you're increasing the probability that you're going to gain more muscle mass, you're also increasing the vulnerability, or you're opening yourself up more to injury. It's just the way it goes. What it takes to push the envelope for growth opens you up to more injury. And I did. I had more injuries at that time too. So then the question becomes, are the gains worth the amount of time that it also makes you either pull back or completely come out of the gym? That question I can't answer. I mean, I still made pretty good gains, but there were times when I had to just completely pull out of the gym because there were some bad ones in there. I mean, I had an LCL issue from squatting. I tore a bicep. Now, that could very well have been and was argued that I was 260 pounds with man titties. That's very possible. You go in your chin when you're 260 pounds, you might hear your bicep rip in your ear. That's kind of, those are things that can happen. So I don't think outside of that nutrition component, I mean, I believe that the stretching is a pretty vital component, and I see how it works on paper. I don't know that doing the actual stretching provided any more growth than had I not done the stretching. But I can see how, on paper and everything else, I mean, I grew, so I consider the entire plan as it worked together with all its components to be successful. So if I were to do it again, I would not question it. I would keep the stretching in there. So I can't think of anything else that really stands out. The Widowmakers took my legs to another level with, sets of 20 to failure, or ending with a set of 20 to failure. I grew more from those Widowmaker sets, I think, than I ever did from anything heavier than that. So I think I can't think of anything else in there that I would, there may be something else that I don't agree with, but I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
I could see that. I feel like that I could agree with a lot of it. How about you, Nate? Anything that you would say worked differently for you? Anything you disagree with as far as your own training goes?
Man, it was probably about 15 years ago that I tried it, and I remember I contemplated on doing it for so long because everything that Dante had laid out in that program, it was just like so different than the traditional like volume, that bro split that everybody does. And I'm like, but I kept hearing testimony after testimony about how great it is, and everything Dante has ever said on it just like Skip said, just on paper, it just makes sense. And I've taken his advice, since I figured out who he was on dieting and training and supplementation, and every advice that I've taken of his has worked. But like Skip said, I get, and maybe it's relative on how injury prone you are. Some people are just more injury prone than others. Right. And so for me, when you have to stick to particular exercises to gradually overload on them, my elbows kind of got trashed a bit on some of those compound movements that you're supposed to overload on. So I'm like, I got to go in there and I got to do these, whether they're behind the head dumbbell extensions or close grip bench press. I mean, my elbows are just not having it today. So how am I going to, beat the logbook if I'm in pain? You know what I mean? So it did, just like any other training program, they all kind of have its caveats. And that was one of the caveats for me, is having to work. It's hard to progress on the logbook and stick to the program when you're working around an injury, as opposed to if you're just doing kind of a traditional, I guess, volume type of training, But it's been 15 years since I looked into it, and somebody asked me about it not too long ago, and I kind of dug it up on Intense Muscle again. It looked like it's in the past 15 years, it's kind of evolved a little bit. Is that true?
Yeah, a little bit.
Or is it pretty much the same thing it has always been?
No, I think it's evolved a little bit. I think too, Scott. I'd like to hear Scott's response to this, because I think he and you other two Scotts, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Scott Stevenson he hasn't morphed the DC protocol, but he did play with it and adjust and tweak some things quite a bit before he went into the Fortitude, his own training style. Would you guys agree? I mean, he tweaked and adjusted a lot of things.
I don't know whether he did that before or after? I know he wanted to kind of do his own thing and be able to market it and stuff, and I know that that's kind of where Fortitude was born, but I don't know the timeline, so I can't say. You'd know better than me.
Yeah, I think it was prior to Fortitude, because I know when Dante dipped out, finally got out of training clients, it was Scott who, especially after the problem that that Dante had with that one trainer, I think it was Super D, fucking mess there on Intense Muscle. But after that, I think the only person, he trusted very few people. I think it was Dusty Henshaw and Scott Stevenson. I think they were the only ones really that Dante wanted to train DC style, train clients DC style. So I think that's when they kind of, put their own twist. And when I say made adjustments, I don't think they overhauled anything. I don't think they completely made these huge changes. But I think that anything that had evolved was probably more due to Scott and Dusty than it was to Dante himself, because Dante pretty much backed away from it finally at one point and just left it to the two of them.
Scott, you got anything you want to throw in here?
I just did everything Dante said, but I'm a little more manly than the rest of these pussies, so I just got through it. Yeah, that's all I have.
It's funny too, because there's one other thing that's just so obvious that I didn't get when you were asking me, and that is I do believe that the overload principle of increasing weights and reps does grow muscle tissue. There's no question there, but I do not believe that it should get not as much, but it shouldn't get the most attention. It's not the only way to overload a muscle for growth. And I think that one of the ways that the DC program was sold was that really was the only way or the absolute best way. And I don't know that that's necessarily the case, because there does come a point of return where you're not going to be able to increase the weights and the reps. Now, it may be a long way down the road, and that means that if it's a long way down the road, you got a lot of growth in the meantime. I get that. But I think there's other ways, and I think that the further you get down that road, the more open you are to injuries if you're focused too much on the weights and reps.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that for sure. I feel like for me, and I've talked about it a bunch of times, when DC was really popular, I just didn't have the intensity yet to be able to do what I needed to do in that limited amount of time. And for that reason, it made more sense to me to do more sets. I just, and that's me admitting that I wasn't advanced enough for it at that time.
Right. And not a lot of people would admit that. I think anytime you tell people, especially in an industry where they're trying to get huge and ripped as quickly as possible, you tell people that they can't use it because it's too advanced for them, you have just sold them on that system. They're going to fucking use it. Yeah. So whether he did that on purpose, I don't know, because it would have been a hell of a marketing concept in that sense. But I think he truly was saying, because of your lack of experience and the fact that you're a newbie, you're not able to generate the contractile force and the attention, that mind-muscle connection that once, and you think you can. I remember being young, even though it's been fucking forever, thinking that I was so intense or anything, and then even just as soon as 5 years later, going, oh my God, I can generate so much more work in the same 10 reps than I could 5 years ago. Yeah. So, and I think that continued to progress over time. I mean, I would say that what I can get out of a set now versus what I could get out of it, 10, 15 years ago is probably different as well. So it's an evolution. It's a process of just knowing your body more and being more in tune to that. And I think that that's what he was saying, that newbies aren't able to do that, but they don't know any better. They can't figure that out on their own.
Well, it took me getting hurt a bunch of times trying and never getting a good workout in the process before I realized it. And I just intuitively, went back to volume and then I started using like more and more volume until I got to that point where you're like, you know what, I don't know if I could add more volume into this because it's getting so crazy. And then it started clicking, and then I started doing less sets, and I came to a point where I think I could do it now. But yeah, it definitely was not for me at that time.
And Nate makes a good point about injuries. I was dealing with some what I thought was tendonitis in my right elbow, my right elbow for the last few weeks. So I was able to pull back and go, okay, I'm going to have to do, some flyer work. I don't really want to, but, I can't come in here and press these heavy, even though I know I could probably hit some PRs. If you're locked into DC training and you're committed to it, I think there were a lot of injuries that happened because people felt that there wasn't a plan B. Like they really like, I have to do this. It's either this or I don't train, I think was probably more the mentality. So that I would imagine that probably helped to cause some, is Dante responsible for that? Of course not. That's not in any way what I'm saying, but your interpretation is with a protocol like that is you're locked into it. It's I'm committed to this. I'm going to fucking do it. Where when you don't train with that style, you have more leeway to go, you know what? It just doesn't feel like coming in here and trying to PR dumbbell presses today is the best. It doesn't feel right. I'm going to do this instead. Yeah. And you didn't have that flexibility. And the other part was, what are you going to do when you have to get 2 more reps and you don't feel like you can? Subconsciously, you're going to make subtle changes. The range of motion might be different. Yep. Your rep tempo will be different without you even meaning for it to be. And then you have 2 or 3 more reps, but technically you might not have done more work. Yeah. Now, over time, that would kind of, even out. I get that. Once you progress and you've done this for 3 months and you're pressing, 90 more pounds than usual. Okay. I get that. It's a progression over time. But like I said, I'll be the first, and I want to reiterate, it worked incredibly well, not just for me, but for a lot of people. But I do think that the harder you train and the more intensity techniques you use, and the heavier you train, yeah, you open yourself up. When you open yourself up for growth, you're opening yourself up to the potential for more injury. It's just they're connected. It is what it is, and that's the gamble we all take.
All right, guys. Well, we are about out of time. We actually have a bunch more questions. We'll have to hold off on those until next week, and I think we already have another caller lined up if he'll be available next week. Guys, look for the new thread. Usually a few days before we record Blood, Sweat, and Gear, which is every other Monday. Look for like the Friday before, something like that. We will we'll post something up, and we will be looking for new callers. We'd love to have you on the show. Anything that we need to mention before we go out, Skip? Anything about the Arnold we want to tell people about?
What do we have, like 3 weeks, or is it 4?
I think we're about 3 weeks now. Yeah, we're closing in, man. We're closing in.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I have an article coming out Sunday, I think. Yeah. Talking about the how bodybuilders don't know shit about food. Basically saying, y'all are going to Thurman's, you don't know good burgers. Oh, yeah. I'll leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'll go to that burger place if you will have me with you. You should come with me to the burger place Dave Calick and I were talking about. It's across the street. I think it's called like the Bear Burger or the Bear Naked Burger or something. I can't remember what it was, but it's a good place, man. They're kind of pricey. Like you walk out of there and you're like, that was a little expensive for a cheeseburger, but they're really good. And it's all like grass fed, and they have bison if you want that. And it, not only does it taste good, but it also tastes like it's kind of bad for you too. It's
nice. No, I'm totally open to that. And to be honest with you, I've never been to Thurman's. I probably wouldn't mind going there and taking it in. My point was just that bodybuilders get a big slab of mess in front of them. Yeah. They're like, oh, this is the best shit I've ever had. I'm like, you've been starving. Like, your life is starving and restricting yourself. What the fuck do you know about food? And it's the same people who go, In-N-Out's the best burger I ever had. And that's when I say, y'all, your fucking burger game is weak if In-N-Out is the best shit you've ever had. You got to up your fucking game.
It's all relative.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point that I make. So I don't want to give it away too much because, Thurman's is still, I haven't had it. I haven't had Thurman's. It probably is a decent burger.
It's good burger. It's good burger.
There's got to be there's other good shit there, and I've already done the research, and I put that in there. So we'll see. We'll find out. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, I've never been there before, so.
It'll be fun, man. Plus, the show itself, we haven't even talked about that at all. There's actually a bodybuilding show there.
Yeah, I've heard something about that. Yeah. So we'll take that into more out of obligation, right, than anything else. That's just what the IRS calls and goes, why you need to justify why you were in Columbus for 3 days because it looks like you ate a lot of burgers and you're trying to write them off. Like, yeah, I was there for a show.
Right. Nate, have you ever been up to the Arnold?
Never been to the Arnold. I went to the Olympia a couple times with an old client of mine. I guess that's one of the perks of training people. You know, oftentimes they're wealthy and they take you on trips with them.
There you go.
But yeah, I've always wanted to go to the Arnold. I mean, the cool thing about the Olympia is one, there's other stuff to do outside of the Olympia. I mean, you're in Vegas, you know what I mean? When I think of the Arnold, you got the Arnold, and then what do you go? You're in Columbus, so other than outside of the show stuff, what is there to do? You know what I mean?
Eat burgers.
But from what I understand, I mean, to me, like half the excitement, I'd probably say more of the excitement is actually in the expos.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, the Arnold Classic, Arnold puts a lot more into his expos and all of his vendors than the Olympia does, you know. So, I mean, so as far as like a show per show, expo per expo, I've always heard that the Arnold is where to go.
Yeah,
and I remember, I remember Tom Prince. He was here guest posing at a show, and he was talking about it. I think he was talking to Arnold one time, and he told me that this is probably like 2001. He said that he was talking to Arnold at one point, and Arnold wanted to raise his prize money for the winners to be more than the Olympia winnings, and Joe Weider wasn't having it. He said no, the Olympia's got to be the biggest show, and I'm not paying these guys anymore than I already am. So you can take your money and do something else with it, you know, because my show's got to be the highest paying, you know. So Arnold's got the money to do what he wants, and so he can put it into the expo and just make it huge.
Right.
Yeah, it is a big expo too. It's definitely bigger than the Olympia Expo. It's different. The only benefit I think that I liked about the two, if I compared the two, was that the Olympia is kind of spread out. The venue and, you know, for the show itself and for all the competitions.
Yeah, I remember that being a pain.
Yeah, you got to drive or take an Uber or whatever. Versus, you know, once you get to the Arnold, especially if you're staying right there, you get to that, and it's like you can see all the shows, and you could go to, you know, all the events and everything, and the expo all in the same place. So it's kind of cool.
You just Uber once, and you're there, and you can knock it out. Yeah, see, I remember like the expo was in a different place than the Orleans Arena where they actually had the finals and everything, and. Yeah, I remember that being a miss. I remember just walking down the sketchy ass alley trying to get back to my hotel, you know, because I didn't have any money for an Uber. And I was standing outside the Orleans Arena, and I'm staying at the New York. You know, they got all these towers, and they're all lit up, and you can see it and everything. I'm like, man, I could see it from right here. I could just walk. And then so like once I start walking, I'm walking for like a half hour. I'm like, damn, I've been walking, and I don't look like I'm any closer than I was when I started. And so I'm like, and you know, it's not just a straight shot, you know, because I might have to like weave in and out and walk. Literally, I'm like climbing down bridge embankments, going through like these sketchvilles. I'm like, man, I should have rethought this. Luckily, I didn't get mugged or anything. Yeah. But anyways. Always fun times in Vegas.
Yeah. Scott, I would ask you, have you ever been to Vegas? But I don't think I want to ask you because I don't want to know what you've done there if you did.
Blowing hookers.
Yeah, see, I didn't want to know. I skipped. That's why I didn't want to ask.
Well, I left out the part that I'm smashing dimes at the Arnold too that weekend because my wife isn't going, but I told my wife that's what I was doing, and she didn't know what that meant. So I was like, yeah.
Smashing dimes. What does that mean?
Are you kidding me?
Swear to God.
You got some fine dime brizzles.
Damn. You gotta listen to T.I. more, apparently. I don't know. Older T.I.
Okay. I'm out of the loop apparently, but
go hashtag smashing dimes.
Don't feel alone.
All right. Well,
Smashing, I believe Smashing is another firm for sexual intercourse.
Right, there you go.
And dimes being like tens?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go, yeah.
All right. See, I'm cool. I'm hip. I know what's going on.
Oh, shit.
All right, guys, let's get out of here. Nate, thank you for joining us, man. Much appreciate it.
Cool, man. I appreciate you having me, man. Enjoyed it.
Absolutely, man.
Later, bud.
S2H.
All right, now.
Skip Hill, we appreciate having you guys as always for another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Gear. Oh, and by the way, we are going out on Nate's music today. So, guys, this is Nate Pennington. You can check out the links in our show notes if you want to hear more from Nate. For another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Gear brought to you by True Nutrition, we will see you soon.
Holla.
That'll get the mullah jumping, all the trees stump, getting crunk, that's what I said. Got the dog box in the back of the truck bed. I got a story to tell about my southern belle. Gonna try to keep it real. Born and raised